Okay, so I am with Papa Squirrel or Brian.
Hey.
um, so tell us about your channel, Papa Squirrel. What do you want people to know about it right off the bat?
Hmm. I mean, my little brand logo is I'm a crystal wielding, tarot slinging, Aries born, spiritual bred empath and animal whisperer. It's a little bit of a mix of everything when it comes to the metaphysical niche with a very high concentration on divination and specifically tarot.
Mhm. With your YouTube channel, what's your goal for creating and putting out content?
Huh. My goal for putting out content is essentially to be able to create a community where I don't know, to me, tarot and just the metaphysical community in general, at least, like I'm an 80s kid, so I'm an old man. And,
Hey,
you
me
know,
too.
like growing up in the times that I did, it was such a taboo kind of topic, and only weird people are into that kind of thing. And it wasn't so much like an open discussion that people had around tarot and crystals and witchcraft and stuff. And I see it's definitely becoming something that is more mainstream nowadays, and I just want to put my voice out there as well. I think that I have a lot to bring to the table, and I value that. I pride myself in that I don't want to create the same kind of content that other people are doing. Um, and circling back, the ultimate goal is just creating a community where people understand that people of all different types of walks of life are a part of this community, and that you can feel a part of something and be able to like make friends and connect and understand that your voice is heard no matter who you are, where you're from, type thing.
Hmm. Well, one of the things that I've talked about with other people is why do you think so many LGBTQ people are sort of drawn to tarot and alternate religions? What's your take on that?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I think even the question within itself is somewhat stereotyping because everybody's different,
True.
in the stereotype itself of LGBT community who are a part of this community as well, and like what's the connect and why. I would think that it has something to do with just um I don't want to say sensitivity, but sensitive in the sense of like emotionally, spiritually, the ability to be able to like look inward and reflect on a lot of things. I think it's just a lot of these. Oh, bleh. I don't know how to say what I want to say. Like, I think it's just the ability to be like kind of introspective and take a step back and look at life from outside of the box. I think that a lot of people are just very have their horse blinders on when it comes to like life and reality and kind of what is going on, and they don't ever kind of question a lot of the magic that we all knew as kids growing up, and there's something that changes where that whatever that is, it kind of like shuts off into like adulthood. And there's a lot of people, including us, that just continue to tap into that. And I don't know. I think maybe also too is like you're as a member of the LGBT community, I've always been the weirdo,
Yes.
and
Yes.
like and it being in the metaphysical community, I'm a weirdo, you know? Like, so there's also that kind of acceptance of like, well, you don't accept me for my sexuality and you don't accept me because I'm into witchcraft or whatever, you know? And it's like, well, whatever. I'm just going to do what I want. I'm going to do what feels right to me and be proud of that.
One of the things that to me I've discovered just talking to people and just in general, just kind of gleaning from people is, non-acceptance from mainstream religions. Like, I had one side of my family is Catholic, one side of my family is Southern Baptist, and both sides are kind of like, you know, sin, sin, sin. And I actually wasn't raised in the church. I was never baptized.
Really?
Um, yeah, I only went to church a few times. I could probably count, well, maybe less than 20 times in my life I've actually been in a church for service. Um, yeah, so I wasn't raised in a church, and probably part of that comes from being, a product of divorced parents when I was really young, and then, just so I've never really felt like I've had a connection to any mainstream religion, and I think for that part of that was dabbling into other things. Like I had this book when I was probably 10, and I asked my mother, I'm like, look at all these religions of the world. I guess I'll choose one and figure it out. She's like, what? I said, yeah, I'll just pick one I like, and then that will be my religion. She's like, you can't do that. It's like, why not? I don't understand. She's like, but like my mother is spiritual, but and Christian, but she doesn't go to church.
Yeah.
Like when I came out to her, she's like, you know how this hurts me? This is not the way it's supposed to be. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, woman? Just, you know, leave me alone. Let me live my life. Um,
Yeah,
so
that's actually a very valid point. I didn't even think about that because I was raised Methodist. I was
uh,
raised in church, and yeah, you're right. It was something that was just, I don't know. I saw like a lot of the hypocrisy when it came to like being in church, like versus like what we're supposed to be learning versus how people were acting, and I connect with that. So
yeah,
that's a very good point. I'm glad you brought that up.
the people that scare me are those holy rolling uh, evangelist people that seem to think that their opinion is the only thing that's valid, and no one else's opinion exists. There's no coexistence. It's like this is how it is. That's scary, especially in the political climate we have right now.
Yeah.
um, and where I work, I work around a lot of students, and some of them seem to be like they've been indoctrinated by some sort of woohoo Jesus freak type subset of something, and it's kind of creepy. I don't go for that, and
Yeah,
that's
I
why
get
I have a strong distaste for like organized religion, because there's so many hypocrites. you
yeah.
know you say you're a Christian, but you're not acting like one.
Hmm.
So that really has soured religion for me. So I think for me, the hunt for the truth, like the hunt for something real, it's almost like a song, something real I can feel. It's like, what makes sense to me, as a person spiritually.
Yeah.
Because I think we definitely have that need for spirituality in our life. It's just different flavors that we should, go after, whatever suits our own, you know, purpose and everything.
Of course. I think that's very valid for everybody to do that, you
Yeah,
know? Like,
absolutely. Um, so you love crystals.
I do.
So how did you get into crystals?
Oh my gosh, like since I was like a little kid, like
Uh-huh.
since I was a little kid, like you just collect your little box of rocks,
Yes.
that you have. Um, I mean, I don't remember how young I was when I got my first crystal, but I for sure remember I had a hunk of amethyst,
Mhm.
and I had one of those like druzy crystals that you can get when you, I don't know if you've ever been like oh like going cave exploring, not like
Mhm.
in the raw form,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like a cavern tour, and they'll sell like the Druzy crystals
Like
that they.
Luray or something.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Lorraine Caverns. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had like a lot of crystals as a kid growing up, and so
Hmm.
that was something that just has always been there, you know.
So, what are your top three crystals that you just or stones that you absolutely love?
For sure, black tourmaline. That is
Really?
like my go-to. I love that freaking crystal.
Huh.
It's a good grounding crystal. It's really good for like energetic protection.
Mhm.
I call it the air purifier because it
Mhm.
like filters out all the bullshit. Like like it'll soak it up
Mhm.
in, and then you know whatever. It's just a great crystal. It was like that was my actually my first crystal once I started to get into kind of like the metaphysical
Okay.
property of crystals, and I was just really starting to like dive into like my spirituality and just looking for alternative options, and of course like got into crystals, which I'd always been into, but
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, I can learn more about it now, you
Mhm.
know. So black tourmaline for sure. Love me some clear quartz. I'm gonna
Mhm.
say clear quartz. Clear quartz. I mean, it's just kind of like it's like your duct tape, you know. It's
Yeah,
like
it
the
is. I do
every.
love some queer quartz, some
You're
clear
excited too.
quartz. Yeah, most of the crystals I have are clear quartz. I do love clear
Yeah,
quartz.
you can't
Yeah.
stop saying.
Yes, I
It.
know.
I mean, it's like your multi-purpose tool. It's your
Yeah.
Swiss Army knife of the crystals. Like, what do you need? What do you need to go for? And a third one, I don't know that I necessarily have a third. I think the rest of them just basically rank as number three. You know, just depending on the need and what I want to keep around. So.
It's funny. I used to look through jewelry magazines when I was little and look at the stones and like the jewelry and especially natural stones. You know, and they used to have these, they call them Baroque necklaces, were essentially chips of like, you know, tiger eye or quartz or whatever. And carnelian and lapis are like my two that I just love. Carnelian is just, it's so soothing, the orange color of it. And then
Mm,
for lapis, the blue with the little pyrite specks. I love that. If you get some good quality, you know, lapis, you know, most of it comes, I think, from Pakistan. I think that's where most of it's mined. That's really, you know, AAA quality. It's so beautiful. It's just, it looks like the night sky. And I think that's why I'm drawn to it.
Lapis is super interesting because that's the crystal that the Egyptian
Yes.
pharaohs and kings would crush up to use as like their eye makeup and stuff, or
And even oil painting, that's how they got the color blue.
yeah, to
A
tan
lot of times
walls or the
they
paint.
crushed it up. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, that's such an interesting stone.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, it's beautiful. It just talks to me. Um, so let's see. So tarot. When what at what age did you start to really kind of be curious about tarot?
I would say like initially it was probably 4 or 5 years ago now at this point that I started to get really interested into tarot. I don't know. I don't remember exactly the situation of what it was. I do know that I came across it on YouTube and I was absolutely fascinated. Well, that may not have been the initial introduction.
Mhm.
It could have been in a movie, it could have been in a magazine, who knows? But I do know that I jumped on YouTube because YouTube is like the all great educator to me.
Yes.
Like one day I'm like waiting to get like my YouTube diploma to become like a master's in everything and nothing at the same time, you know? So I jump on YouTube and of course like I just go down the tarot rabbit hole of learning about tarot and learning about like the different decks, and I was just so like intrigued in the concept of divination itself. And I bought the wooden tarot.
Mhm.
Was my first tarot deck, just because it was a very earthy based deck. I loved like that it was painted on like different pieces of wood. It's got like the crystals, the bones in it, and then of course the happy squirrel card, the happy squirrel card, I don't know why I can't speak this evening, popped out at me, and I was just like, this is it, this has got to be my first deck. So that's that little short little
Okay.
introduction. What I
So,
got it.
um, why a squirrel as sort of your, I guess, um, like it's almost like your Indian fetish, like a bear or a turtle or something. So why a squirrel?
Squirrel's my spirit animal. It's
Really?
yeah.
I think mine is a turtle.
Ooh,
I've
okay.
always loved box turtles, and I've had box turtles, and there's something about them that really, I mean, they're just doing their own thing, and they're beautiful to look at.
Yeah,
And Eastern box turtles, their shell is supposed to mimic sunlight falling on the forest floor. That's what the orange and the brown is. And that's like they captured it in their shell. It's so pretty.
that's
So
interesting. Did not
yeah,
know.
it's a camouflage, so that they can't be seen. They don't have too many predators, but here in Virginia, there's lots of box turtles, especially after it rains. And I've
Hmm.
always thought they were just the neatest things. Plus, they live to be like what, 100? It's so cool.
Like forever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
forever and ever.
I just remember growing up, like, of course, being in Virginia, growing up, and there's tons of Virginia wildlife, but it was always the squirrels. I was just
Hmm.
something about them. It is what it is. It's my spirit animal. It's just something like I really connect with and resonate with. And it was in my early 20s. I actually moved to Luray for a few years. Met like a really good group of friends. And back then, that's where I was just kind of coined the nickname Squirrel. And, it would be this thing where eventually, just because I was the oldest member of the group, it just kind of naturally became Papa Squirrel.
Ah,
It's
okay.
kind of like
Yeah.
this little inside joke thing. And so it would be like everybody would be baby squirrel. And so I'm Papa Squirrel and all the friends are like baby squirrel. It is what it is. So
Okay.
it's been like that for so many years. So when it came time to like, do some branding and choose a name or whatever, I mean, it was just I've been Papa Squirrel forever, so that's what it's gonna be.
Mhm. You've um you've been pretty adept at branding. I mean,
Mm.
you've been consistent, and you've steadily attracted people to your channel. And anecdotally, I think it's your personality that really attracts people because you're upbeat, even when you're bad mouthing a deck. It happens. There's some decks that I'd love to just like throw across the room, but I've already gotten rid of them because not all decks are equal.
Yeah,
And and
a bonfire out front with it.
yeah, yeah. Um, but there's so many, and some of them, like I think my tastes in decks are like almost completely opposite of your tastes.
Yes,
Seriously, like I only had one on the Halloween list that you did that premiered today,
yeah.
which is Carnival at the End of the World.
Oh,
Um, yeah, I love that deck. It's great. Um,
it's
and
such an interesting deck, but it's.
it's interesting. It's not very usable at all. Eh, Traditional correspondences are like thrown out the window, and
Is that why you love it though? Because it's
I love
just
it strange. It's
yeah.
strange, but not usable as a deck.
Mm.
And I researched a little bit about the people that put it out. Really, they're just designers and artists. They don't really have a tie to tarot. They just put it out to put it out.
Mhm.
So there's two. It's a team of two guys, and they just got together and did this deck, and based on their artwork. So existing artwork, they just did this, and so I wasn't. I mean, it's beautiful, but it's not. usable. Um, yeah, but yeah, but our tastes are very. I think I'm more traditional.
Mm,
Like Rider Waite and Toth and Marseille, because it's nice to do a flavor of a deck, but sometimes those flavors are just too saccharine for me. They're just not. They don't they don't jive with me. It's like they're too far of a deviation from what traditional tarot is. And I read a lot, and I read. I try to get lots of books that appeal to me on tarot and actually read the books. Um, and I can tell, like when I did 5 interviews, with tarot creators on my channel, and you can tell different ones have different backgrounds in tarot. Some
mhm.
not really, some really do. So I wanted to do a whole spectrum of that, as well as showcase some artists. And it taught me that, people get into tarot a little differently each time and have a different, some people only take it but so far. And then some people take it, way over here.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that the same thing is with tarot YouTubers and the tarot sphere. You got some really serious people out there. They're kind of, ooh, you know,
Yes.
and you say the wrong thing, and then you get this comment that's like, "What? I didn't. What? Why are you being mean to me?" I, I know you've had some. You know, you've
Yeah.
you've had some pretty probably crazy comments that are you're like, I'm deleting that. I don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not on a daily basis, but I
But
mean,
yeah.
after I reach like a certain subscriber count, it does seem almost on a daily basis that there is that constant reminder of. I find it very intriguing, that in reality and in real life, if you mess up or you say something or whatever, it can be addressed, it's done, you
Mhm.
know whatever, and keep on keeping it moving. But in the world of YouTube, this is here forever. And so, I'll get comments on videos from almost 2 years ago now that's like, oh, you mispronounced that word, and
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, thank you for being the fifth person to let me know. Something a
Exactly.
year ago I mispronounced, and it's just like you have to. I'm starting to learn how to kind of just what's that term, like water off a duck's back kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Just you know
I've had a couple of sort of kooky Christian comments where it's like you realize that you're playing with something you don't understand, and that hell is awaiting you basically. I'm like, okay, that's your opinion. Thank you. I just, yeah.
I wish I had as much free time as some of these people have to be able to like
I
go around
know.
and do these things. I mean, what would I do with that amount of free time in a day? I mean, I wouldn't be trolling other people's pages and making comments.
Yes.
I would be using it productively, but
So what made you leave Virginia? Because you were born in Virginia, right? And you grew up in Virginia,
yeah, born
and
and
I'm
raised
still here.
Shenandoah Valley. Went to turn 18. I started going to college. I went to a few colleges within, I was going to say the US, a few colleges within Virginia in the US. Went to college in West Virginia, landed in Luray for a little bit, started a career in the restaurant industry, worked my way up, lived in DC, Northern Virginia, 13 years, met my partner. He got a job out here in Kansas. And
Mm.
so I was like, may as well tag along, so that's how I ended up in Kansas. So
Oh, but
yeah.
so you went from Virginia to Kansas, technically.
Yes,
Wow, that's a change.
it's a little bit of a change.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like the area that we're living in is like right outside of Kansas City. So we're
Okay.
still in the like suburbs of Kansas City.
Mhm.
And honestly, it reminds me exactly of Northern Virginia.
Okay.
The only things that are very little bit triggering is kind of like once you drive out of the metropolitan area essentially and really get into Kansas or Missouri, depending which side.
Mhm.
You're in the flattest cornfield, so not having the mountains is definitely different environmentally for me, but aside from that, it's pretty similar. It's home. It's cool.
Um, so I sort of have just two more questions for you and we'll just to wind down. Um, what, if you were to talk to people or your audience or my audience or whatever, um, what is one thing that you think is like the weirdest thing about you?
The the weirdest thing about me. Oh my gosh, I don't know. There's a really long list. The weirdest though. I guess I'll say this much. So I think that it's on the topic of social media, and of
Mhm.
course, like having a YouTube and a channel and everything. And we were discussing earlier when you made a comment about like how upbeat I am and how positive I am. And so I think one thing that people may or may not recognize is that whatever your thoughts and opinions are of me, of whether they're good or bad, it's just this little slice of my life that you're seeing,
Mm.
and I, although am a pretty upbeat and positive person, I genuinely enjoy people's interactions.
Mhm.
I am very much an introvert.
Ah.
I really enjoy my alone time. I really enjoy my quiet time. And 90% of my life is spent in like quiet and peace. And I'm not, this like bubbly thing. It takes a lot of energy for me to be, so I guess that's one thing that I would say thing about me that people may or may not know is that I'm not like this 100% of the time.
That's good. Yeah, and yeah, I think it's almost like celebrities. Like you see them in movies, that's not the real them. You
Mm,
know, that's a character. You don't know who they are. You don't know these celebrities. Same thing with like if you were to meet Madonna or Lady Gaga, you don't know how you're going to act around them or what the true how they are in private.
yeah.
Even though Madonna posts a lot of stuff on Instagram, she can't stop. I do love some Madonna. Um, so another question is, um, if you were at a party, is there any hidden talent that you can entertain people with?
Let's see. I don't know like how great of talents these are. Um, I can wiggle my ears. Um,
Okay.
I can I don't know, I can make my ankles click. I don't know, there's like a vein that will rub over my ankle that I can make it click. Um, that's about all I got. I don't know. I don't know magic tricks. I don't know like anything like that. I don't know anything cool. I'm a damn good DJ though, and
Oh.
you give me control of whatever music playing device there is. That's something I love to do.
Hmm. Well, one more question.
Okay.
Um, so, what type of music do you like? What are some of your favorite artists?
Oh, phew. I like all kinds of music. I very much mainly lean into like the dance and pop. But it just depends on my mood, like, and I think that because I can go from something like bawling my eyes out to Adele, which may not be like the best example. It's just what comes to mind. To like, let's like dance to some Lady Gaga or twerk to some Nicki Minaj or whatever. Like I appreciate music and I appreciate dance, and I also appreciate, and this is why I make a good DJ, because you got to bring people on a journey, you know.
Yes.
You can't
Yes.
have energy right here all the time. Like there's got to be these like valleys and peaks, you know, that keep people engaged with music, and I've really enjoyed that about music, you know.
That's funny. So you've been to some of the clubs in Norfolk, or years ago, millennia, decades ago, like Private Eyes, The Wave,
The Wave and Rainbow Cactus were the two that I
yeah.
remember.
I yeah. So I have a funny story. When I was like late teens, I'd go to The Wave sometimes,
Uh-huh.
and it's if there's a Navy ship in, that place is full of little Navy boys, you know.
Oh
um,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
the song, I guess the song that just came out was Whitney Houston's.
Stranger in the House.
No, that's Deborah Cox.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
it
Sorry.
was Whitney Houston's. It's not right, but it's okay. And there was this awesome like remix that because the original song is kind of slow, but then they did this remix that was really, really popular, especially in clubs. And I swear they played the hell out of that song one night. I swear I heard it at least 5 times. And what's funny is the DJ knew how people were reacting to the song and kept playing it. And people were not burning out. But because it was such, the 6-minute remix of this song that people were like really wanting to hear it because but I remember that was fun. But the DJ was really, really good. And there was a club in DC that closed called Velvet Nation. I went there once.
So I
That
used
place
to
was
work at Nation.
crazy.
I used to work at Nation, and then right across the street was Club Wet, and I would, Club Wet.
I know of it.
So I used to work at Wet.
Uh-huh.
I would make my money, get my
Yeah.
drink, then I would go over to Nation, and I would work at Nation all night long, and had some amazing opportunities to be able to get behind the DJ booth and meet a lot of the DJs that were touring around. And then would go to Cobalt was another one. So Joey O was the owner, and Joey O used to have after parties on the weekends. So I would go to Joey O's and go work and go party. That used to be my life for quite some time.
There was another club that was popular in DC. It was like initials, JR's or
Yeah.
was it JR's?
JR Sports Bar and Grill. It was a
Yes,
two-story.
I've been there.
Yeah.
It's like 2 stories. It's kind of, yeah, it's okay, but I'm not into sports. The downstairs is like a bar with like TVs and everything. I thought it was so strange. Upstairs was the dancing.
Yeah. That was right across the street from whatever the other club was that just actually recently closed too, I think. I don't know. There's a lot of clubs.
Velvet Nation was crazy because so at first, I think at midnight they opened the doors to the other part, which was like what, 2 levels or 3 levels or
The
something.
warehouse. Yeah.
It was crazy. And then you had these little twinks dancing in like cages, not taking their clothes off. And then couches, and it was, yeah, that place was crazy.
We probably bumped into each other just in the
I wasn't there very often.
I was there every night. So
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah. Whenever I got to DC and it was a long weekend, it was always interesting to kind of explore.
memories.
I'm too old to go clubbing. Plus, I'm married. It doesn't really. You're married. You don't go clubbing anymore.
Yeah, right. Like, oh God.
You come home. You make dinner. You go to bed. You wake up, you go to work, you know, you get
Groundhog's Day.
groceries.
And it's quarantine too, so it's like double Groundhog's Day. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Well, I guess that's it. I really appreciate you sitting down and talking with me. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Thank you for asking me to talk to me. Like,
Well,
yeah, of course I will.
yeah, I just, you know, I think it's great how well you're doing on YouTube and you're engaging with so many people. And, you know, I think you're only going to keep going shooting up. So you'll be making so much money. You won't spend any money on tarot cards and you'll have sponsorships and, you know, people will be begging you to review their decks. You'll just get shipment after shipment.
Let's hope so. Let's hope I reach that point eventually.
That'll happen.
Yeah.
But anyway, you have a good night,
Thank you.
and
You
I
too.
will. I'll talk to you soon, and I'll get the footage to you as well.
Okay. I would
Okay.
love to. Thank
Great.
you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Take your time.
Bye.